you please. We about to get it on.
Fox Sports 910, Benjamin Garcia filling in for Jody Ayler today on The Drive. Let's continue to talk all things NBA free agency. We will do so in just a little bit here. I got to spend a couple of minutes on the Caitlin Clark phenomenon that took place yesterday in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, listen, it's so tough. Being an Arizona sports fan, I have been all in on Arizona sports ever since I was a kid. The Suns got me into it. Shawn Marion was my favorite player. The Diamondbacks, the Suns, the Cardinals. I've always been loyal to the sports teams in the desert. It's always what I've been about. It's always what I've been into, what I've watched, what I've been into, what I've sought after. That's exactly everything that has taken my interest since I was just a wee lad. As he says with a Penn State shirt on right now in this very cold studio. Not very fair for me to be able to say that, but either way, neither here nor there. Yesterday, I found myself rooting for the opposition of a Phoenix-based team. I found myself rooting for Caitlin Clark. I know that's tough. That's like, I should be ostracized for saying that while hosting a Phoenix radio broadcast. But that is the magnitude that Caitlin Clark has. I have always been a hero guy. If I could choose, listen, there are some instances where I love a good villain, and if the villain is good enough, I am rooting for the villain. But as we've talked on this show, I've already made one movie reference. Jody would be proud of me. Here's my second movie reference. I'm a big Marvel movie guy. At least I was until the franchise inevitably went down the toilet. I love a good hero. I also love a good villain. But I've always more so leaned on the hero like a lot of us do. And Caitlin Clark in this instance is the hero. Diana Turasi told her it's going to be a rude awakening when she comes to the NBA. When she comes to the WNBA. And credit to Diana Turasi. Diana Turasi has paved the way for a lot of women to go play basketball, for a lot of women to demonstrate just how great she is, and has led that path. And without Diana Taurasi, there is no Caitlin Clark. But yesterday was a rude awakening for Diana Taurasi and the Phoenix Mercury. Wasn't a rude awakening for Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was pushed around. I watched nearly the entirety of that game. She was pushed around. She was not getting a very friendly whistle, regardless of what Angel Reese likes to say. She was getting her teammates involved. And here's a statement that I was said to myself yesterday and tweeted. And maybe I should say it quietly because this is going to anger a lot of people. But I've got to be honest. Caitlin Clark might be able to play in the NBA. Now, I'm not saying she could go drop 30 points a game in the NBA. Clearly, that would not even be close to a possibility for Caitlin Clark. She's just not built big enough to be able to play at the NBA level. And I mean this in the most respectful way possible. Caitlin Clark plays basketball very similar to the NBA game. She just does. It's so fun to watch. It's artistic. She is the WNBA Steph Curry. And forget the scoring ability. Caitlin Clark's ability to play make and make the correct read every single time with two defenders draped all over her is so impressive. There were multiple passes last night that had my floor dropped to the ground at the gym while I was working out watching this game. She is mesmerizing. She is changing the game of the WNBA, and it's why it shocks me that not everyone will put their arms around her. I get it. The WNBA players, jealousy can be a real thing. You want to be better than her, competitive nature, all that's great. I'm not holding it against anyone who wants to push around or talk their bleep to Caitlin Clark. I get it. As a consumer, though, I don't understand how everyone is not wrapping their arms around Caitlin Clark. Yesterday, the game against the Mercury on Sunday was the highest attended game since 1997. She is literally changing the game. She is going to make this on her own the most profitable WNBA season. And when I mean most profitable, I mean the least amount of money lost in a WNBA season. That is what Caitlin Clark brings. She plays just like Steph Curry. She pulls up 6 feet behind the line. She takes people to the basket. The passing ability might be the best I've ever seen in the WNBA. Every single time she's putting it in the breadbasket, and oftentimes her team doesn't convert. Yesterday they did. Collectively, they all came together in that game. But led by the charge of Caitlin Clark, this young woman who is putting people on their backside, both literally and figuratively. I encourage you. I used to be one of those people. Never watch women's basketball, not interested. It's a second-tier product. For the most part, that is still true. Caitlin Clark is not a second-tier product. She is a ton of fun to watch. And I'm not saying from a scoring ability she could play in the NBA. But from a playmaking ability, always making the right read, Caitlin Clark is second to none. And the playmaking ability, the passing ability, is like of an NBA player. Obviously, the shooting is fantastic. But it still baffles me that there's people that will hold a grudge against Caitlin Clark simply because, for whatever reason, whether it's you just don't, the race reason or the women reason, you just don't like women's basketball, I don't get it. Every time I watch a game that Caitlin Clark is on, I am mesmerized and my jaw is dropped on the floor every single time. It just feels like there should be much more of a kumbaya coming together moment for this woman. She is changing the game and narrative of women's basketball, a product I never thought I would watch. But that's just the star power and magnitude to a Steph Curry-like ability in Caitlin Clark.